I'm Charlie and Donna's son-in-law. Did you eat it? Can you hear us? No? Okay, sorry. Anyway, we would like to thank you all for coming on such short notice that we were, well, maybe it wasn't short notice, but it was taking time out of your busy schedules to come and celebrate Charlie's life. I have a little bio here of Charlie that I'm going to read in a little bit, but I have a little story to tell about how I met Charlie and Donna 35 years ago. You just take a look. I first met Charlie and Donna 35 years ago at Canyon Crest Country Club. My first impression was that James Bond truly exists, and Suzanne Summers lives in Riverside. And I was as nervous meeting them as I am right now. So that dynamic duo, they belonged on a show called The Rich and Famous. They were a special couple, or are a special couple. So I have a little short bio of Charlie's life I'd like to read to you. So here we go. Charles Frederick Bohling was born in Midland, Texas, on January 16, 1944. His father was in the military, so they moved several times the first 12 years of his life. They went from South Dakota to Alabama to Riverside, back to Alabama, and then they finally settled in Riverside while his dad was stationed in March Air Force Base. Charlie was an all-star pitcher at Poly High School, and he was well known throughout the Inland Empire. Immediately after graduation in 1962, the New York Yankees signed him for the highest signing bonus that anybody had received up to that time, $50,000. So what would an 18-year-old stud do with $50,000, you might ask? Well, he runs down to the Cadillac dealership and buys his dad a brand new Cadillac. He paid cash. After that, he runs down over to the Jaguar dealership and pays cash for a brand new Jaguar XK. So, what a perfect way to start spending $50,000. And that was a great way to start his career, and the legend began. He married Donna Wright at Lake Wales, Florida, in April of '63, having their first child, Dana, in October of '63. The three traveled around the country for the next 6 years following the dream. Their second child, Darren, was born in March of 1970. And there he is right there, I think, somewhere. Charlie felt it was time to retire from baseball and started another career, allowing him to stay home and help in raising their two kids. He initially worked with IBM, then went over to Fleetwood Mobile Homes for 3 years, moving to Casa Grande, Arizona. They wanted to come back to Riverside, so Charlie's good friend, Steve Welty, introduced him to real estate. Charlie got his real estate license in 1978, and Donna followed 4 years later and got her license in 1982. They started the bowling team, selling real estate in and around Canyon Crest for the next 40 plus years. Charlie's life was full of love, laughter, and the precious time with family and friends. Charlie passed on February 14th of this year, 2025, on Valentine's Day. So he's going to be greatly missed and have a wonderful life. So Dana would like to read a little poem that she came up with, kind of epitomizing Charlie's feelings and his life. So she's going to go ahead and read that right now. Take a deep breath.
First of all, I want to say thank you, everybody, for coming. I know it's been a journey to get here for all of you, and from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate you coming and paying tribute to my dad. All right, I'm going to try to do this poem, and I'm going to try to do it without breaking down, so bear with me. We gather here with love and pride to honor Charlie, our joyful guide, a man who lit up every room, whose laugh can take away the gloom. With wit as quick as summer sun, he made us smile, each and every one. His stories, long with winding ends, were told so well we hear them again. He spoke of baseball glory days, of dugout dust and big league plays. You'd see his eyes begin to gleam, a boy again, lost in a dream. He loved my mom for 6 decades strong, a love that lasted deep and long. With quiet strength, he held her hand, a steady heart, a gentle man. They called each other Hun from the very start, a little word that spoke from the heart. Through all their years of work and rest, Hun was the word that fit them best. Even at the very end so near, he blew her kisses soft and clear. A final gift so pure, so true, a love that time could not undo. He loved his family, heart and soul. With every hug he made us whole. His pride, his joy, so clear to see, in every laugh and memory. His grandkids were his world, his fun. He teased them both, not just one. No joke too old, no tale too tall. CJ and Carly loved them all. He teased them with love all over again. A papa, a jester, and their best friend. He had his songs, his phrases too, the silly things he'd always do. And now when music fills the air, we turn and feel he's standing there. He never judged, saw only good, in every soul he understood. Old baseball pals and lifelong friends, with stories and laughs that had no end. Positive through thick and thin, a constant cheer, a steady grin. Even when life had its say, he found the sunshine in the gray. He had eyes of blue as the summer sky, soft as a whisper, strong as goodbye. They held a light so warm and true, a window to a soul we all once knew. We'll see them now in the ocean tides and skies above where peace resides. His pretty blue eyes forever near, a part of us so bright and clear. His favorite words were, I love you, and he meant them so deep and true. He left this world on Valentine's Day, wrapped in love, then slipped away. So here's to Charlie, bright and bold, with stories that will still be told. In every laugh and every cheer, we feel his presence always near. And thank you, Dad, for all you gave, your love, your laughter, the way you stayed, so kind and true and full of heart. You taught me well, you did your part. I'll carry your love in all I do, and always say, I love you in infinity too. something to say.
Thank you all so much for being here today. It means the world to me getting to see all the people that had the privilege to know my grandpa like I did. He'd have a smile from ear to ear, seeing all of his favorite people in one room together. Chardonnay in hand, of course, because he always knew how to enjoy the moment. It's hard to put into words what my grandpa meant to me. He had the biggest heart of anyone I've ever known. He loved his family more than anything, and he loved with such a happy, wholehearted spirit. My grandpa also never knew a stranger, just future friends. He saw the good in everyone and somehow always found a way to bring out the joy in every moment. Growing up being an athlete, I cherished hearing his stories about his baseball career with the Dodgers and the Yankees. The amount of times he sat with me, sharing not only his favorite memories of the good times, but of the grind and the grit, the injuries, all the times he had to fight through. These were the stories that stuck with me and shaped how I approached my own challenges, not just in sports, but also in life. My grandpa had a way of making all of us laugh like no one else could. So many of the best memories are tied to his legendary sense of humor that left us doubled over in tears. Whether he was doing his infamous finger trick, or the time he spent 10 minutes chewing on what he thought was a crouton in his salad, only to discover it was part of the chair. Or the time when he tried to answer the air freshener in the car because he thought it was a phone. He always knew how to make any moment unforgettable through his jokes, his laughter, and his joyful spirit that will stay with me forever. One of my favorite memories was when me and my brother CJ were going to visit my grandparents for the weekend when we were both little. My mom made sure to stress the importance to my grandparents of being at the gate by the time we landed. For those of you that know my grandpa, he was never late. In fact, late to him was arriving 10 minutes before the scheduled time. Well, in this instance, my grandpa called my mom to let her know they were already at the gate in Ontario before we even left for the airport for our departing flight this afternoon. Of course, then it became a legendary joke that whenever we fly down to see them a few days before, my grandpa had to call me to let me know he's already at the airport waiting to pick me up. But that's the kind of guy he was. He proved his love and excitement to see us through his actions that of course turned into laughs and memories we held on to forever. I miss him every single day, but I see him everywhere. And his jokes that I now inherit, to the lessons he taught me, and in the kind of love he gave so freely. I love you, Infinity Papa. All right, we're ready to start. If anybody wants to come up.
Steve? Okay. Gary, you can be after Steve, okay?
Okay. Sorry, Gary. Don, I want to thank you so much for having this nice celebration. It means a lot to us, for all of Charles' friends.
Closer to the mic.
Really do appreciate it. Charles is one of my best friends, and I was Charles' best friend. Just kidding. I know a lot of you feel the same way about Charles. He was that kind of guy that made you feel when you were with him that basically you were his best friend, and that came across quite evidently with all of us. We miss Charles very much. I met Charles back in the early 70s. Donna was with us at the escrow company, Coast Escrow, and she was chatting up California Realty and telling Charles that he should probably try to get into the real estate industry. California Realty guys will make a lot of money, and probably time to talk to Steve and see if he'd be interested. So she set up an appointment, actually a meeting, and we met over at their condo, Cheryl and I, and had a really good visit. We left the condo. I asked Cheryl, I said, honey, what do you think? She said, he's a talker. I go, yeah, he is. And so a few months later, Charles came on board with us. He had such a great career in sales and stuff. He told me he knew everybody in town, so he didn't need any training. He just pushed right on through, so that's what he did. And 90 days later, there was no production, no listings, no sales, and that didn't work out too good. So Charles said, hey Steve, I think I need some training. We popped him in our training course, and we had a pretty good training course at that time. And Charles went right through it and started doing a lot of transactions, and he became one of our top sales agents at California Realty for the next few years. And back then it wasn't so easy. We didn't have that much, well, what did we have to work with? We didn't have that many tools. We had the microfiche, crisscross directory, and a multiple listing service book. But the agents were, they're doing 6-8 deals a month, and really cranking pretty good. And then I think at one time we got high tech, and we got a pager. So that really put us in the business, but that was all great. But in a few years, the decades later, Charles and I, we went on a lot of trips together, a lot of great trips with family, sometimes solo, sometimes with a lot of other guys. But we certainly enjoyed them. I think the first trip I went with Charles, we went marlin fishing in Cabo, and Charles wasn't a fisherman, but he went with us. We had a great time. We went with John Shopping, his father-in-law, and yeah, went down to Cabo. The captain is motoring out. The captain says, guys, this is where the Sea of Cortez meets the Pacific Ocean. Charles goes, where's the line? Charles had this big grin on his face, and you don't know about Charles if that was reality or if it was humor. But the captain didn't say a whole lot to Charles. There wasn't a whole lot of conversation going on. But maybe 30 minutes, an hour later, Charles, he got his first marlin. Captain is yelling at him, Carlito, real Carlito. And Charles got his marlin in about, I think 30, 40 minutes. Charlie had his first marlin, and Captain never spoke another word to him on the trip. That was good. But Charles and I, we had a lot in common, but probably one of the big things we had in common as far as pleasure was concerned was our Sinatra music. And both of us just love Sinatra, so we had it playing at our residences almost all the time. I mean, Charles would, I think at the time lived on Stonewood. Charles was on Stonewood. I was on Merlin Drive. And we were welcome at each other's house, announced or unannounced, but you could always count on the music playing pretty good. And but Charles, he had a calling card at my house. I guess he didn't realize that I did have a doorbell. But he pretty much pulled into the big circle driveway I had and rolled his windows down and play Sinatra until I came out. And that was fine. That's pretty much the way it went. One night, I was tired. I didn't want to answer the door. I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to go out there. I don't know what time it was, but one of the neighbors called me on the phone. And Steve, there's a guy in your yard. He's playing Sinatra. It's great music, but it's kind of loud. And I don't know, it was 11, 12 o'clock at night or whatever it was. So I got up and yeah, Charles got in the house. But I was a little bit more discreet when I went over to Stonewood. I didn't have that MO. I did use their doorbell on most occasions. But Darren, he was a little tight about this talk. I got over there and Darren answered the door. You go, Dad, Yaya Toll is here. I don't know, Darren, was I that bad? I was an instigator, I do believe that, and but Charles did come right along with it. But that's how I got greeted over at Charles' place. But Charles liked the sports a lot. We all know about Charles' career in baseball, which was great. And we played a lot of tennis, a little bit of racquetball. But Charles, he always talked about golf. I never played golf, but Charles talked about golf. And anybody here that's played golf with Charles? Raise your hand if you play golf with Charles. Okay. Did Charles ever complete a round of golf? Did he ever play 18 holes? I just want to know. I've heard stories, Charles being in a tournament, and the 5th or 6th hole, he just takes the cart and goes to the 18th. I've heard that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard tell that he didn't finish too many 18 rounds, 18 holes. But he loves golf. But anytime we were around and the story of golf came up or anything about the golf game, Charles he'd have to, come out and show you his swing. And he always had this stance. Reminded me of the old Jackie Gleason skit, about addressing the ball. But Charles, he'd be out there and he'd be serious and showing people how he'd do his swing. And that was always vintage Charles, along with the baseballs. He'd show my kids how he threw the 3 balls and different curves and fastballs and balls. So that was quite interesting. But Charles also, he liked to go to golf. Where did we go to the Classic? I mean, he went to a lot of the golf tournaments. Bob Hope. He went up to Pebble Beach. He liked to see the pros and people up there, the amateurs, and also the celebrities. But yeah, he liked to watch the celebrities a lot. So we went down to Bob Hope quite a bit. There's a lot of stories about going with Charles and Bob Hope. And some of them I can tell, and some of them I can't. But they were always something different with Charles when we got to the Hope. But one year he was there, and he was in the restroom, and Andy Williams comes running in there, and runs right to the urinal and starts barfing and throwing up. Charles belts out, "Moon River, wider than wild." I swear to God, that happened. And of course, Andy in those days, he was known to like the hooch, but he was feeling a little under the weather that day. But that was classic Charles. Charles, we did go fishing one time here locally. Charles wasn't a fisherman, as you guys know. He did get a marlin, but we went locally fishing. We're going to take Darren fishing Lake Skinner, and we're going to go fish for some trout. Yeah, you remember that? I hope you do. You're a young kid, but yeah. But we had, I had all the tackle. I had everything we needed, so that was fine. Charles was just in charge of the salmon eggs. That's all he had to do, get the salmon eggs. Of course, time got away with Charles. We were doing what we were doing, 8 o'clock at night, no salmon eggs, sporting good clothes. We were leaving 5 in the morning, get out there early. Charles, what we're gonna do, so Charles says, I'll handle it. Charles goes down to La Bodega liquor store, gets 2 tins of caviar eggs. We go down to Lake Skinner, put them on a little boat. The fish were jumping in the boat. We limited out to 45 minutes flat. Caught more fish than probably we ever caught, limited trout. But that's why Charles wasn't really in charge of anything to do with fishing. We had to keep on him on that. But holiday seasons with Charles and Donna were great. We had the greatest parties on Stonewood, greatest parties on Merlin, always something really happening. I think one year Donna, in fact I know she did, she let us, Charles and I, pick out the Christmas tree. So Charles and I went out to Christmas tree lot, got the gorgeous, of course the best tree on the lot. It was 10, 12 feet. If it was 8, you know, it was a huge Douglas fir, nice tree. Delivered, got to Charles' house, forgot there was only an 8-foot ceiling. Charles and I, being the handyman that we weren't, we didn't have any kind of saw that could cut through a trunk like that, so we just lopped 4 feet off the top. And Donna said she was the only house in Riverside that year that had a square Christmas tree. Sorry, Donna. That's the best we could do at the time. There might have been a little adult beverage involved. I'm not sure. But that was quite a tree, quite a Christmas. But all the decades went by. Charles and I, we had a lot of good stories. Charles never got tired of telling the stories. And the thing with Charles, though, it's not like the good old days and all the old guys like us sitting around and exaggerating and embellishing the stories. Charles didn't have to embellish them because most of them were like strangers in fiction. I mean, half the people wouldn't believe some of the stuff we did anyway. So it was really good, and missing Charles right now is something I know that we all can share. When Charles was in rehab, and he was having a little bit of cognitive problems, went down and saw him, and he was still telling the stories. We were still going over the stories. And he said, buddy, you know, I was doing some reading, and it said people that are really smart, they're the ones that get this problem with the memory. How did I get this thing? Charles didn't, at the last, he was still giving us the stories and still giving us the humor. He was always so darn funny. He had the deep-seated belief in people. He had the great spirit, always positive. And Charles, he's gotten to be with the Lord now. And we love you, Charles. And thanks for the memories.
Hi, I'm Gary Moore, big deal. It's unbelievable to try to follow those two guys. Walty, his family.
I forgot one story. Let me come up there with you a minute.
I have nothing to say now. Everybody's saying it. I know I made myself some notes. If I ever thought I was going to be 85 years old, I would have taken better care of myself. I looked at Charlie's picture. I'm not going to say a bunch of other things that I was going to say because they've already been said. Charlie was one of the lucky ones. He died, passed on at 80, and I'm 84 and I'll be 85 in a couple of months. But Donna called me, and my friend Clark Mills and I've lived in San Diego for 50 or 60 years now. One of my problems is going to be I'm going to kind of float around in this conversation where most people stay with a story. I'm going to say things at random, which is the way I do things. So anyway, my wife and daughter made me promise that I wouldn't talk as long as you talk. That's good because Dana said everything, you said everything, but there's a few things that weren't said that I happen to know that Charlie and I met. I was somewhat of an athlete in the old days, and then I got into girls and cars, and Charlie kind of went another way, but we met. It was really funny. I had graduated from high school, luckily, in 1958, and Charlie was 4 years younger than me, so that meant he had to graduate in 62. But since I was so smart, I decided to go out and work in an aluminum plant, putting a steel rod through a pole and hanging it up. My dad worked, and I said to myself, that's not going to work for me for the rest of my life. And all the time, Charlie was moving along with his, it just irritated me so much because he was so good looking that you're a perfect example of your dad. She should have been Miss World or something. But Charlie, spring vacation was a big deal for us in the old days. I graduated from high school, left the job of hanging rods and decided to go back to school. So I went to this spring vacation, and Charlie had a 54 Ford. I was into cars, and so I remember the car. And we were in Laguna Beach where everybody went. And so I heard about him, and it really irritated me because he was stealing all our girlfriends. I'm older than him. That's when he kind of met Donna and stuff. But I'm saying, who is this guy? So anyway, I decided, because I'm a pretty tough guy and stuff, I confront him about it. So I went down Agate Street, and he and his buddies, Craig Kraft, I don't remember him, and Bill Alexander, and maybe Bob Hammond was in there, I don't know. But they were all sitting in their car, Charlie's car, and I didn't know it at the time, but Charlie, when I introduced myself and his friends, he would always tell the story because I was going to kick his ass until I got to the car, and then I saw 4 guys in there. I said, I don't know if this is a real good idea. And he laughed later because he had a baseball bat in there. It was crazy. And that's how we met. And from then on, we were, like you said, dear friends. I graduated from college at San Diego State. I went to work, my first job was IBM, and I pulled Charlie along with me, and he became with IBM. But, like Donna's been married to him for 62 years, I guess. Put it said here, and I brought you guys will love these things, man. There's a site called Temu on the computer. You guys buy all your stuff there? These are big glasses from Temu. Charlie Bohling died peacefully at his home in Riverside, February 14th. Clark and I, because Don had called us and told us he was in bad shape, which I still haven't gotten over. Every day I think about it. We went to the rest home he was at, and he said to me, and he said to Clark and I think they told me I have Alzheimer's disease and stuff. I said, Charlie, how old are you? He said, I think I'm 80. I said, well, you could remember that. You don't have Alzheimer's. Oh, God, it was so beautiful. It's like Steve said, I mean, I think I have Alzheimer's. Oh. Anyway, he was in Midland, Texas. His father, Bud, served in the Air Force. I think you break life down in 30-year segments. You're 0 to 30 is one segment. 30 to 60 is another segment. Some people don't even make it that long. Then you get to 60 to 90. Well, I'm 84. I'll be 85 next month. I hope I can make that. But Charlie had all these segments in his life. And I tried to pull out the most important segment. She's sitting right there. Cracks me up. I mean, he started to blossom when he married this girl here 62 years ago, I guess. I was there when this girl was born. I was there when Darren was born. And Charlie, hey, just moving along like everything's cool. And it was cool. I'm glad he didn't hit me with a baseball bat earlier. He was a Little League baseball pitching legend in his early years, it said in the paper. He was recruited from Poly, as we all know. The fact of the matter is, I was a baseball star myself when I was 10 years old. I hit 5 home runs in one game and threw a no-hitter. Everybody bid so much on me the next year to go into Pony League, they had no points left to get any other players. And then I guess the top of my life was when I had that one game. I went straight, but Charlie went straight up. So I consider that segment, marry her. Oh, another cute story. I don't know, someone said he got a Cadillac when he got the 50 grand. Well, I don't remember that, but I do remember the XKE.
You got to stab the Cadillac.
I need to tell this story because we all, when we were younger, there used to be a clothing store in Riverside called a Mark Stevens shop. I don't know if many of you remember. But if you wore Madras shirts and shopped at Mark Stevens, you were really something. Well, Charlie, when he got his bonus, he went directly to the Mark Stevens shop and bought 50 sweater shirts, all the same, different colors, 50. Who would buy 50 sweater shirts? You see what kind of person he was? Then he turned around and left and went straight to, I forget the Jaguar dealer's name. Al Burnett. And he goes in there, and I think Al Burnett's son or somebody was a salesman. And Charlie told me this 20 times. He said, I went in and I wanted to buy it. I wanted to see an XKE. And the guy said, you're not old enough to be even talking to me about an XKE. And Charlie said, well, I can buy it. He's like, did you bring your parents or something? And now I guess he's got his dander up a little bit. So he takes his 50 shirts and puts them in the back seat of this XKE and has the guy take him around the block a few times. And then he comes back and he says, I'll buy it. I mean, the guy can't believe it, right? XK was the coolest car in the world in those days. Being a car person, I went, oh man, it's unbelievable. What? Anyway, the point is that Charlie drove off with the XKE and 50 sweater shirts, and then he had a little bit of money left, and his dad sold him some life insurance to make sure they got all the money spent. Then he promptly married Donna, and then they went off to Fort Lauderdale. But actually, between that time, he went with his XKE and Bill Alexander through Texas, and I had just been recruited into the Air Force, and I was doing push-ups, I remember, in the rain at 3 in the morning, and Charlie said, we were going by right about the time you were doing that. That cracked me up so much. He had this XKE and he's heading to Florida to be a baseball star. And I'm doing push-ups in the rain. Anyway, Diane, I'll be shorter. I've gone too far already. My lovely wife, Diane. Anyway, one more story about Charlie. Somebody mentioned the golf classics. Well, I was at IBM during those times, and I secured all the passes for my buddies that came down from Riverside, because I'd loan my typewriters out to the Bob Hope Classic, and they would give me free tickets. So Donna and Charlie came down one year, and we had a swivel, I can't remember, we thought we were so cool. And Charlie came down, I don't know if the word vain is a good word for Charlie, because he was so good looking and everything that, you know, when your dog has a problem and they put the collar around the dog's neck, so, well, Charlie sits out by my pool, down for the Wild Classic, and he puts a piece of tinfoil all around his head so he could catch all the rays. It was like 120 degrees, and he's frying himself up. And all I know is I wrote some things down here. Words like honesty, responsibility, kindness. What can you say about Charlie that hasn't been said already? Never met a guy I didn't like. Never met a guy that didn't like me. He was that kind of person, and I've thought about him every day since he passed, and I just didn't get enough of Charlie while he was here, but he sent me into the stratosphere thinking about dinosaurs and planets. I said, how did Charlie come up after having all this stuff before him to be that kind of a person? Well, Diane, you're right, it's time for me to go, but like the old word said, I love Charlie. He was beautiful.
Every one of us have been in Donna's seat before, haven't we? We've lost a loved one. from an earthly standpoint, it's terrible. But Donna, Dana, Darren, from a Christian standpoint, it's wonderful because we're just a night's sleep from Jesus coming in those clouds. Now, if you don't believe that, don't listen to me. But you that believe that know what I'm talking about. Charlie loved jokes. Oh my. Bill Doles loves jokes too. Some of his favorites, Donna. And when we would see each other, which wasn't very often, he'd say, Bill, what's your latest joke? How many farmers are in this room? Are there any farmers? Do you know what a female sow is? A female hog is a sow. And a male hog is a boar. And this farmer back in Missouri, where I came from, had 12 sows, but no boar. And he wanted to raise hogs. Neighbor down the road had a boar. He went down to see him one day and he said, if I pay you, would you have your boar breed my sows? And what will you charge? And the farmer gave him a flat fee and he guaranteed it that those sows would be bred, would be pregnant. He could bring them back as many times as they wanted if they weren't pregnant. He took them down, the boar bred them. Next day, the farmer told him, he said, now, you'll know if these sows are bred or not. When you go down early in the morning, they'll be rooting and snorting if they're not bred. If they're laying asleep and happy, they're bred. A week went by, and every morning the farmer would go down, they'd be rooting and snorting. On the 8th day, the farmer told his wife, he said, you go down and check on them hogs this morning. She went down and came back and said, what'd you see? He said, well, I'm not sure what's happening. But 11 of them are up in the truck already, and the 12th one's honking the horn in the cab. I won't be long. One of the funniest ones that Charlie liked, we all know he was a baseball player. 2 baseball guys that love baseball. They played Little League together, high school, they played college, even played City League together. And they got to drinking one day, and they had a pact that the first one that died and went to heaven, check out and see if they had baseball up in heaven. So the one down here had something to look forward to. So about 40 years later, when they're about 85, like this gentleman that was there for here and me, one of them died, went to heaven. And about 2 days later, the guy back there got a call from him. He said, Charlie, he said, I got good news and I got bad news for you. Well, what's the bad news? Or what's the good news? He said, first. He said, well, they play baseball up in heaven. He said, what's the bad news? He says, you're pitching tomorrow night. 2 more and I'll quit. Went to my doctor the other day and I said, if I don't drink or smoke or chase women, will I live to be 100? And he said, I can't guarantee it, but it sure seemed like it. I had an old uncle back in Missouri lost his teeth. And he and his wife were in the living room watching TV. She was knitting and he was asleep on the couch. And all of a sudden the spirit kind of came in the room a little bit. And she walked over to the couch and kind of stroked him on the cheek and neck. He woke up and he said, what's wrong? She says, honey, do you remember when you used to make passionate love to me and stroke me and bite me on the back of the neck? Boy, he jumps up and runs down the hall. She says, where are you going? He says, I'm going to get my teeth. Donna, Dana, Darren, and family. I think I told you the first house you owned in Riverside, down on Shenandoah, is that right? Close. I think one of the cowboy streets. Grace is getting a gift that we don't deserve. Do you agree kind of with that? Getting something that you don't deserve. Well, Charlie was gracious. He gave everybody that he met a gift of laughter, loyalty, love. And salvation is having faith in the grace of Jesus. That's simple. Get your butts out of here. There's no buts about it. And one day soon, Donna and Darren and Dana and your family and all of us that have lost loved ones. There's going to be a big cloud come out of the sky. And Jesus is going to come, not set foot on earth, but he's going to hover. And the graves down there are going to pop up like popcorn. And Charlie's going to be one of them. And you three folks and all of us that are here today are just as sure as we stood in here. And believe this, Donna, you'll see him again. And he won't be sick. He'll be old Charlie.
Is there anybody else that would like to come up and tell a little Charlie's story? Hey Steve, I had one story that Charlie told me years ago that was one of the funniest stories, and it's about when you went over to Catalina. Tell that is the funniest story. I don't know if you want to, but it was just hilarious.
stories here.
I know you have a ton of them, but that was one that stood out to me. So,
Is that okay? All right. Let's see. Charles and I and Catalina. We decided to go to Catalina. We had a 26-foot eliminator boat, and it was about 6 o'clock at night when we decided to leave. So we're getting ready to pull out of town. Charles wants to go buy Stonewood, go buy his house, so he goes by his house. Brings out his shotgun. So Charles, what do we need a shotgun for? You'll find out later. Okay, whatever. We get down to Newport. We're leaving to Catalina. It's about 9 o'clock at night. And it's kind of, well, it wasn't kind of, it was foggy. And we launched the boat. You know, Catalina is only 26 miles across the sea deal. And we got an eliminator. And it's foggy, but you know, we'll be there in an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. Take it easy. So we're motoring out of the harbor, and we get straightened up, get the compass right, and we tell Charles just to keep it on course. And Jay Blount and I, Jay was with us. We had take a little power nap from the night before. We were up all night, and so took a little snooze. And what was it? I don't know. 30 or 40 minutes later, whatever. Charles wakes us up. He said, "We're here." We look up there. The lights, and there's a couple of high rises right there. Well, look at the compass, and we're back in Newport. What the hell happened? The compass is right there, Charles. And so, whatever. So it's still foggy. We're cruising to Catalina. And by the time we get there, I forget it's like. And of course, there was, this is back in the 70s, so there was a bit of adult beverages on the boats and whatever. And we get. Guess we get into Catalina about midnight, still kind of foggy. Jay, he's driving now, and we're going in between the moorings. We're trying to find a place to hook up, we can't find anything. And Charles says, "I'll take care of that, I'll figure it out." So he takes out the flare gun, he shoots the flare gun, the flare goes straight up Avalon Harbor. 5 minutes later, sirens come out, Harbor Patrol comes out. "What are you guys doing?" They said, "Well, we're trying to find a place with parks." So, the guy takes us. This is a true story. The guy takes us over, moors us up, gets us on the dock, carts us, takes those little famous golf carts over to some 3-story, I don't know, a flea bag of a hotel. Charles called it Mickey Spillane Hotel. I don't know whether it was a hotel, but he puts us in there, and we're on the 3rd floor, 3 beds, like 3 little hamsters. Right there, and we pass out, go to sleep, wake up in the morning. Jay and I look around, Charles is gone, he's not there. Windows open, the curtains are blowing. Look down there, I don't even jump. We can't, I mean, you might have. We're looking for Charles, and we can't find him, so we do start doing the walk down the boardwalk of Catalina, and going to this dive bar, and there's Charles, and there's smiling, a little cocktail playing Irish poker with some local guy. And Charles, time to go. So anyway, we get back on the boat. It was pretty much an uneventful trip getting back. We left, and Charles said, "No, just pull her off here. Just cut the engine." He takes out a shotgun. I said, "Charles, what are you going to do?" He brought it for sharks. So but anyway, he takes out a shotgun. He just wanted to shoot it, so he shoots it up in the air, straight up in the air. The pellets come down the boat. Charles got this grin on his face, like he just accomplished something. I don't know what it was, but we got to Newport, and that's the joke.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mike Kenny, and I'm really happy to be here today. Donna asked me to come and speak a little bit about my time with Charlie. And I gotta say, it's my time and my wife's Lois' time that we've had to spend with Charlie. More than 20 years, probably even 30 years. Charlie's reached out to me to lead me, to help me to understand the real estate business and the lending business. And that might sound funny, but it was very special to me because it's rare that somebody that's not in your family can lead you and guide you and love you and trust you like Charlie trusted me. And Donna knows, I think Dana knows that trust and that bond that's so real. As I walked in here today, I see that bond in your eyes. I see that electricity that he brings to a room. That real caring spirit that lifts you right out of whatever you're going through. It lifts you out of your problem because Charlie's so real and so pure in his love for you as a person. When you're not in his family, it's an electricity. It's an electricity that draws you to him. And over the years, we've spent so many times in people's homes, in the most tense moment in their life, when they're getting ready to sell a home and buy another one. They're tense, they're upset, they're nervous. And Charlie walks in the room and says, "Hi, I'm Charlie," and all of that goes away. Just that fast. Just that fast. So I needed to thank Donna and her family for all of the love that they've given us for so many years, right? For so many years. And all the love that we've been able to give back to them has been a lifting and inspiring journey to a better place around everyone that we've known. Hundreds of families, we've shared their lives with them because Donna and Charlie trusted us and loved us along the way. Thank you for letting me speak today. Thank you.
Okay, I have something written that's written by someone other than me. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. The author is over there in the hat. Will, come out and just wave your hand. Okay? Put this in a little context. Everything else up here has been because people have known Charlie for years. I've known him since high school. And people have been in business with him and everything else. I don't have humor with this, although I remember a lot of humor. But to put this in context, this is written by somebody that has not known Charlie that long, but the impression that he made on him. We've had a few parties at our house. Will's not speaking because for some reason he doesn't think I'm as quiet as he is. So, so he asked me to do this. And I will work to get through this. Charlie was the kind of man you never forget. A lifelong lover of baseball, he not only played the game with heart, he also made it all the way to the pros. But it wasn't just his athletic talent that made him stand out. Charlie had an energy that could light up a room and love for life that was contagious. He was a great man and even a greater father. His children always knew they had someone in their corner, cheering them on, guiding them with kindness and showing them what it meant to love unconditionally. Charlie was the kind of dad who showed up, who gave his all, and who left a legacy of strength, warmth, and unwavering support. In his community, he was more than just a successful realtor. He was a trusted friend, whether helping someone find their first home or lending a hand to a neighbor in need. Charlie did everything with compassion, honesty, and a heart full of care for others. He was a man who gave more than he took, smiled more than he frowned, and loved with every fiber of his being. Charlie, you are deeply missed, but the love you gave, the lessons you taught, and the joy you brought into our lives will live on forever. Thank you for being you.